Backup mic. Everything's all right. About a year ago, we got this little dog here. His name is Bingo, and he's great. The only problem is he turned into that. And so I was watching my wife, Claire, buying a new bed for this monstrosity. As a marketer, I always find it fascinating when people are doing something online almost like autonomously, sort of like, I'm just going to go online, I'm going to follow a thread, and I'm going to arrive at something that makes me want to go. And I was fascinated. I was watching this process. Now, marketers would love you to believe that that process looked a little bit like this, right? So she would have gone, I'm aware that I have a dog, and I'm really aware that now I am interested in buying a bed. And I would have gone through this linear, beautiful process around which almost everything is now designed. The reality, though, is that the process actually looked a lot more like this. There was, what's the best dog bed? What are the best reviews? And actually watching that process unfold over days or maybe even weeks included Google searches, it included several devices, many cups of coffee along the way, putting the device down, coming back another day, rebooting the computer, closing the browser. And yet, everything that we have learned to do as marketers relies on this beautiful, neat funnel, as if people are sheep or, I don't know, M&Ms funneled into something, right? Now, what I thought was remarkable is along every single stage of that messy journey, everybody is vying for attention. Whether it's an Instagram ad, a YouTube review, an influencer trying to get you to buy the dog bed that they've been paid to promote, everybody's vying for attention, and you end up in this sort of world in which if everything is a neon sign, then surely nothing is a neon sign, right? So that then brings it back to this point which I raised on this stage a year ago, which is human attention, the ability for someone like my wife to stay focused on anything along that huge mess of complexity is the most precious resource for marketers. That's actually what we're here to do. We're not here to funnel people through a predetermined roadmap. We're here to keep hold of that attention, which is increasingly precious. Now, as marketers, we've been through really quite a difficult time. If you don't remember, that picture there is somebody wearing a mask because of COVID. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was quite recent. And about 2 years ago, I remember reading a report from the Future Labs, a really great research company, who said the transformational 20s are coming. And I was thinking, come on, like, how transformational can they really be? We've been through the 2010s, the 2008 financial crash. It can't be that. And actually, they weren't wrong. Now, as marketers, we're grappling with the war in Europe, which is sending the markets into turmoil. We're grappling with the race to net zero and the green transformation, which a lot of the bigger organizations here will be still top of your agenda alongside everything else. And then to make things even more fun for marketers, we now have to completely rethink everything we know about marketing thanks to ChatGPT and Gen AI. So this is not an easy time to be a marketer. It's not an easy time. And the best way that I think we can describe marketing, as I see it and as we see it as Hallam, is it's complex, it's fragmented. That's the reality that we're now dealing in. Everything is increasingly complicated and difficult to join up. And it's actually quite a good reflection of the buying journey for something as simple as a dog bed online is complex, it's fragmented. Sometimes the places where you find the product that you want to buy are not selling it. You have to go somewhere else, you have to go to Amazon, then you get distracted by an offer. Now, change is here, again. It seems like at every conference, every couple of years, that somebody declares change. If you remember last year, we were talking about privacy and cookies, and that was change, and that was going to change everything. And now everything's changing again. And just to put a few numbers behind what I mean by change, this is an example of a survey of the number of companies that are likely to increase investment into AI in 2023. 76% of companies are increasing spend, but actually this is more scary. This is the market share, the market cap growth projected for AI worldwide, which goes from 34.8 billion to 1,591 billion by 2030, which is only 7 years away. So this is here to stay. Now, what does it mean for us as marketers? We can't change the macro forces behind AI, but it's going to make everything easier and faster. Everything will be easier and faster than it's ever been before. That's a good thing. Certainly it's a good thing, but it's also a dangerous place to be. And again, if we think back to our busy high street, our neon sign alley, where everything is a neon sign, everything's vying for attention, what does that mean for users? So let's take a look at that. I call this the terrifying rise of zombie marketing. And somebody recently at a conference described trying to tell AI content apart. It's like trying to tell twins apart. Because by definition, generative AI uses existing content to generate what it thinks is a good response. So, in my opinion, the twins look a bit like this, because it is a genuinely bad place for users if left unchecked. And the internet is likely to look a lot like this in the next few years, where the concept of convenience and speed and efficiency overtakes efficiency and quality and creativity and those types of things that have always set brands apart. Nobody's ever looked back at Nike or Apple and said they were so efficient and how quickly they produce content. That's never happened. It's always about the quality, the creativity, the distinctiveness of what they did. The production speed is a hygiene. It's an important factor, but it's not what makes the difference. And sure, I mean, there are some incredible examples of effectiveness, creativity being used. These two examples on the left are Coca-Cola ads created with Gen AI of trying to extend or recreate historic, iconic pieces of art. And they're great. And the one on your right over there was created by Hallam, and it's an entry for an award that we did, something that would have been impossible to create without AI. We simply, probably, I would bet, couldn't convince King Charles, to come to a photo shoot. And yet we did that. And that was done quickly, and it was done well. And without the power of AI, those boundaries would have remained. So it's a world of opportunity, but it's no different to the world of opportunity that the internet created or electricity would have created or whatever. It's also a gateway for what I call weaponized mediocrity. And this is a good example of a tweet that's been haunting me for a few weeks now, which is this company called Veeb, something like that. And it is a completely AI-generated company. Everything, the website, everything is automated. And they're selling hummingbird feeders. Okay, pretty niche. And then I thought, okay, that's interesting. Who's behind this thing? And you know, what's the strategy? And actually, the strategy is this: there are about 25 companies, all with AI-generated logos and generic nonsense names, selling niche products at mass scale. So what we're talking about is not necessarily something that's bad as such, but something where the scale is so high, there are so many stores like this, then this messy middle, this messy journey that I talked about before, is longer and more complicated than ever before for users. So where you had to troll through 3 or 4 stores or 5 stores to buy a hummingbird feeder or a dog bed, you now have to troll through 20 stores or 50 or 100 stores with names like that and logos like that. Now that's not great for users. So that brings me to the main point of today, which is what what we refer to as the second order effects of AI. So this is a simplistic model, but I think it illustrates the point that we're trying to make, which is we know that generative AI, ChatGPT, Midjourney, whatever it might be, can create content. And it can sometimes do it well. Sometimes it does a terrible job. Sometimes it allows us to create entirely new things that we could have never done without its help. We know that. One of the logical effects, one of the logical consequences of that is that content is faster and cheaper to create. Hallam's already integrating things like ChatGPT into some of our production processes simply because it makes sense, right? So we know that. It's cheaper. Okay, that's fine. A likely effect of that is that the quantity of content grows exponentially. So where we could write 3 blogs, now we can do 5 or 6 or 10. Great, cool, awesome. But what's going to happen is buyers will learn to tune out more of the content that we produce simply because there isn't the cognitive ability to retain that much information. How many of the stores that I've just shown you can you remember, other than VB or V, but whatever it was called, right? We haven't evolved as a species to be able to consume as much content as is being generated. I was speaking to Barry last night at dinner, and we were talking about how news organizations publish 500-600 times a day. You cannot read that much content in a day. You cannot. So what happens is people filter out garbage and they focus on the best. So therefore, the UX and the experience and the careful choices of design and color, that's why people read content, not just the quality of the journalism or the fact that it's there. So if buyers are learning to tune out generic, mass-produced content, then surely trusted, authentic experiences become more important than ever before. That has to be the focus for marketers. And I liken it a little bit to the growth of vinyl, the rebirth of vinyl. I think this is a new era of human-first marketing. If we look at US annual music sales in vinyl, you see a huge spike around this bit here, 2010 to 2020. Now, if we just overlay that with the launch of iTunes, and then the rise of Spotify, not necessarily the launch, but the rise of Spotify in 2011, you can see not necessarily a causation, but certainly a correlation between an overabundance of music and the search for buyers for something tangible and real and ceremonial that you can actually spend time consuming rather than being the recipient of, which is what streaming music has become. And now Google search, and there's going to be something about this today, more than one of the talks, is already starting to prioritize user-generated content from all sorts of sources, most of which are not owned by Google, which is a very rare thing to happen, right? And we all know what happened with AMP. So this is not a small thing for them. Google is starting to prioritize human content, real experiences, over stuff that technically ranks. That's a sign of things to come. So I think a trend to take for today is trusted, authentic experiences running through everything that you do so that you can retain that golden thread that runs through the experience of the user from the very first search to the purchase. Now, the last point I'll make is every industry is being disrupted at the same time. We might be sitting here thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? We're doomed. My computer's doomed. But we're not. Every industry is being disrupted at the same time. Even builders are talking about GPT. Now, that's a sign that this is here to stay, right? Now, if we accept that AI is here to stay, it's raising the bar equally for everybody. Everybody has the same tools, the same access to technology, the same superpower to produce a blog in 30 seconds. We all have that power. Everybody in this room can do that. So therefore, human skill, the ability to interpret a user need, the ability to be creative is the difference. That is still the difference. All we're doing is raising the floor. And that's something that is very, very important to me and to our philosophy at Hallam. Because a human and a machine will always be the machine alone, or a human alone. And Apple's launch of this product, of the Vision Pro, is an example that the age of experience is here to stay. They wouldn't enter a market in which the entire product relies on the human experience unless there was something behind that. And ultimately, it's because marketing is about connecting with humans, and everything else is admin. So have a great day, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you.